Welcome to Ethoria Channel.
Previously on the Archaeology of Self. In episode 1, you discovered that feeling lost isn't your weakness, it's your compass pointing toward authenticity. You learned that being found by everyone else means being lost to yourself. You started practicing sacred unavailability, becoming unreachable to others so you could become reachable to yourself. But one crucial question remained. Now that you know you're buried alive, where exactly do you start digging? Episode 1 was about recognizing you're excavating. Episode 2 gives you the map. Episode 3 will teach you to protect what you uncover. Today, we go deeper, much deeper. You've been living someone else's life so long. You need archaeology to find your own. Picture David, 42 years old, successful architect. Perfect marriage on paper. Beautiful house, 2 kids. From the outside, he had everything. But every morning, looking in the bathroom mirror, he felt like he was staring at a stranger. That stranger looking back might be you. Discovery, you are buried alive. You know that feeling when you're in a conversation and you catch yourself performing? When you hear words coming out of your mouth that sound like you, but feel like someone else? That's not imposter syndrome. That's archaeological evidence. Evidence that somewhere along the way, you buried your authentic self so deep that even you need tools to find it. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud. Most of your life is a very polite lie, a rehearsed version of who you thought would be safe enough to survive. David's moment of recognition came at his son's soccer game. Another parent complained about the referee. David found himself nodding, agreeing, making supportive sounds. But inside, he was thinking, I don't actually care about this game. I don't even know why I'm here. That's when it hit him. He hadn't made an authentic choice in years. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote about bad faith, living inauthentically to avoid the anxiety of freedom. Carl Jung wrote about the persona, the mask we wear to meet society's expectations. Both understood. You've been living in someone else's hell, wearing someone else's face. Episode mantra. I am not who they need me to be. I am who I choose to be. The excavation map. 5 archaeological layers. Every archaeologist knows that what you find depends on how deep you're willing to dig. Your psyche has layers too. Let's map them. Layer 1, the performance layer, who you become when you're being watched. What it looks like, how you act at work, how you present on social media, how you behave in groups, the version of you that gets approval. Archaeological evidence. Maria, a lawyer, realized she'd been performing competence for so long. She'd forgotten what actual confidence felt like. She spoke in meeting voice even with her husband. At dinner, when he asked, "How was your day?" she gave him a quarterly report. The test. Notice how your voice changes when you answer the phone depending on who's calling. That's layer 1 in action. Excavation tool, the mirror. Question. Ask yourself, am I being myself or playing myself right now? Layer 2, the protection layer, the armor you wear to avoid being hurt. What it looks like, the masks you wear to avoid judgment, the walls you've built to avoid pain, the roles you play to feel safe, the person you become when you're afraid. Archaeological evidence. James discovered his nice guy persona was actually a sophisticated defense system. Being helpful meant no one could criticize him. being agreeable meant no conflict, but it also meant no one knew who he actually was. At 38, he didn't even know his favorite color anymore. Amanda's bubbly personality was her way of managing her mother's depression. If she was cheerful enough, maybe Mom wouldn't sink into dark places. 20 years later, she was exhausted from carrying everyone's mood. The test. What aspects of your personality feel like work to maintain? That's your protection layer. Excavation tool, the safety question. Ask yourself, what am I protecting myself from by being this way? Layer 3, the programming layer. The voices in your head that aren't yours, what it looks like, your family's voices in your head, society's expectations in your choices, culture's values in your values, everyone else's dreams in your dreams. Archaeological evidence. Sarah, at 35, realized she was still trying to become the doctor her father wanted, even though she'd been a successful artist for a decade. His disappointment lived in her chest like a permanent weight. Every canvas she painted felt like an apology to a ghost. Robert discovered his entire banking career was his grandfather's unfulfilled dream. 3 generations later, he was still trying to prove the family wasn't poor anymore. His bank account was healthy, but his soul was bankrupt. The test. When you hear that critical voice in your head, whose voice is it really? Your mother's? Father's? Culture's excavation tool, the voice question. Ask yourself, whose approval am I still seeking with this choice? Layer 4, the pain layer. The wounds that shaped who you became, what it looks like, the parts of you that were rejected, shamed, or ignored, unexpressed grief, unspoken anger, unmet needs, aspects of your personality deemed too much or not enough. The person you were before you learned to hide archaeological evidence. Lisa's extreme independence was built on childhood emotional neglect. She'd learned that needing others led to disappointment, so she became someone who needed no one. She could run a company, but couldn't ask for a hug. The test. What parts of yourself do you hide because they were once rejected? That's your pain. Layer calling for excavation. But here's the paradox that will disturb you. What if the part of you you're most ashamed of is the part the world needs most? Excavation tool. The wound question. Ask yourself, what part of me went into hiding to avoid being hurt? Layer 5, the original layer. Your authentic self before the world told you who to be, what it looks like, your authentic desires, your natural rhythms, your genuine reactions, your original face. Archaeological evidence. David found this layer during a business trip to Denver. Alone in a hotel room, no roles to play, he asked himself, what do I actually want to do right now? The answer surprised him. I want to draw. He hadn't drawn since college. But sitting there, away from all his roles, the desire emerged clear as daylight. Not because it was practical or profitable, simply because it was true. The test. What did you love doing as a child that you stopped doing because someone said it wasn't practical? Excavation tool, the truth question. Ask yourself, what would I choose if no one would ever know? The master excavation. Who are you when no one benefits? Here's your ultimate archaeological test. Imagine a life where no one benefits from your choice. No one is watching, No one gains anything from your decision. Who are you then? This reveals something unsettling. Most of your preferences aren't actually yours. They're inherited, borrowed, or performed. Elena discovered this when she realized she'd been ordering safe meals at restaurants for years. Not because she loved them, but because they were socially acceptable. When she finally ordered what she actually craved, she felt like she was breaking a rule she'd never agreed to follow. The revelation. You've been making decisions based on an invisible committee of voices. But in those rare moments when the committee is silent, something else speaks. Consider this unsettling possibility. What if your sadness isn't dysfunction, but memory of who you were before the performance? That something is your authentic self. The 21-day Archaeological Dig Week 1. Layer detection. Daily practice. The observer, each day notice when you change behavior based on who's around. Morning. Question. Which layer am I operating from right now? Evening documentation. When did I catch myself performing today? Week 2, performance interruption, daily practice, the pause break, automatic patterns. Say, I don't know when you actually don't know. Express genuine preferences instead of whatever you want. Share one unpopular opinion per day, James's discovery. He started saying, let me think about that, instead of automatically agreeing. The pause gave him space to consult his authentic response. Surprisingly, people respected this more than his immediate yes. Week 3, original face emergence, daily practice. The truth teller, let your authentic self surface. Spend 30 minutes daily doing something with no productive outcome. Make one choice, based purely on curiosity. Say something true you've been hiding. David's practice. He bought art supplies without telling anyone. Drew for 20 minutes each morning before the house woke up. No purpose, no goal, just the simple pleasure of moving pencil across paper. What emerges? When you stop performing. When you stop performing yourself, you don't become selfish. You become selective. You don't become difficult. You become honest. You don't become mean. You become real. And real people are magnetic in a world full of performers. David's transformation. Told his wife he didn't enjoy their dinner parties, admitted to his partner he preferred creative projects over commercial, told his kids when he didn't know answers instead of performing authority. The result? Everyone respected him more, not less. His wife admitted she'd been hosting parties because she thought he enjoyed them. His partner revealed he'd been dreaming of creative projects too. The pattern. When you show up authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Your daily archaeological tool. Morning excavation, 2 minutes. Before checking your phone, ask, what does my authentic self want today? The midday check-in, 30 seconds. When confused or overwhelmed, ask, am I being myself or playing myself? The evening review, 2 minutes. Ask, when did I honor my authentic self today? When did I abandon it? The weekly deep dig, 15 minutes. Spend time alone with no agenda. No phone, no music, no productivity. Just notice what emerges. The resistance. You'll face people who benefited from your performance, will resist your authenticity, but they're cleverer than you think. They won't just say, be fake again. They'll use sophisticated manipulation disguised as care. This resistance is not about you. It's about their comfort with the role you played in their story. Here's exactly what they'll say and how to excavate your way through it. The guilt trip archaeologist. What they say. You used to be so helpful, agreeable, fun. You've changed, and not in a good way. Remember when you cared about family, work, friendship? You're being selfish. What they really mean. Your authenticity is inconvenient to my expectations. Your archaeological response. I'm the same person, just more honest about my limits. I care deeply, which is why I'm being real instead of performing. I haven't changed, I've stopped pretending. The script for guilt trips. I understand this feels different. I'm still committed to relationship, family, work, but I'm approaching it from authenticity instead of obligation. That actually makes my contribution more valuable, not less. The concerned troll excavator. What they say. I'm worried about you. This doesn't seem like you. Are you having a breakdown? Maybe you should talk to someone. What they really mean. Your self-discovery threatens my narrative about who you are. Your archaeological response. I appreciate your concern. I'm actually becoming more myself than I've ever been. This is exactly like me. The real me you haven't met yet. I am talking to someone, myself, for the first time in years. The script for fake concern. I know this looks like change from the outside, but this is actually me returning to who I was before I learned to perform for approval. I'm healthier now, not less healthy. The emotional hostage taker. What they say. If you really loved me, you would. After everything I've done for you. You're hurting the family-team relationship. Fine. I guess I don't matter to you anymore. What they really mean. I'm using your love against you to maintain control. Your archaeological response. Love doesn't require me to be someone I'm not. What you've done for me is separate from who I choose to be. I'm not responsible for managing your emotions about my choices. The script for emotional manipulation. I love you, which is exactly why I'm being honest instead of performing. If our relationship requires me to be fake, then it's not really me you love, it's my performance. I want you to love the real me. The comparison contractor. What they say. Look at other person, they don't act like this. Normal people don't. Everyone else manages to. Why can't you just be like? What they really mean. I'm using social pressure to force you back into line. Your archaeological response. I'm not other person. I'm learning to be myself. Normal is often just mass performance. Everyone else's choices don't determine mine. The script for social pressure. I understand you're comparing me to others, but I'm on my own journey of becoming authentic. What works for others may not work for me, and that's okay. I need to honor my own path. The future. Fear architect. What they say. You're going to regret this. This will ruin your career, relationships, reputation. You're making a huge mistake. What if you're wrong about this? What they really mean. I'm using your fear of uncertainty to keep you performing. Your archaeological response. I'd rather regret being authentic than regret performing my whole life. A career relationship that requires me to be fake isn't worth preserving. The biggest mistake would be continuing to live someone else's life. The script for fear-mongering. I understand you're concerned about my future. I'm concerned too. Concerned about what happens if I keep living inauthentically. I'd rather face uncertainty as myself than certainty as someone else. The practical underminer. What they say. This is just a phase. You're being unrealistic, impractical. Life isn't about finding yourself. Welcome to the real world. What they really mean. I'm dismissing your growth to avoid examining my own performance. Your archaeological response. This isn't a phase, it's an excavation. What's impractical is living someone else's life. Life is exactly about knowing who you are. The script for dismissal. I know this seems impractical to you, but what's truly impractical is spending my life energy on performances that drain me. This is me being practical about my happiness and effectiveness. Your counter-excavation toolkit. The broken record technique. When they keep pushing, repeat the same authentic response. Don't elaborate, don't justify, don't defend. This is who I am now. This is who I am now. This is who I am now. The redirect shovel. Turn the focus back to them. I'm curious why my authenticity feels threatening to you. What are you afraid will happen if I'm genuine? The boundary bedrock. Set archaeological limits. I understand you don't approve, but I'm not asking for approval. I'm informing you of my choice. This conversation isn't open for negotiation. The compassionate excavator. Acknowledge their fear without absorbing it. I know this is hard for you. Change is uncomfortable even when it's positive. I need you to trust me on this journey. The excavation reality check. Some relationships will end. This is not a failure, it's archaeology. You're discovering which relationships were built on your authentic self and which were built on your performance. Some relationships will deepen. When you show up authentically, you give others permission to drop their performances too. Vulnerability creates intimacy. New relationships will emerge. People who are attracted to authenticity rather than convenience will find you. The pattern recognition. People who attack your authenticity are usually defending their own performance. The more sophisticated the manipulation, the more they have invested in your fake self. Your authenticity threatens their narrative about who you are and what you're for. Your archaeological mission. Don't get pulled back into performance to manage other people's discomfort with your authenticity. Their discomfort is data about the relationship, not instructions for your behavior. Remember, you're not responsible for other people's reactions to your truth. You're only responsible for living it. Your archaeological conclusion. You came here, performing someone else's version of you. You're leaving with a map to excavate who you actually are. Remember, you're not becoming someone new. You're uncovering who you've always been underneath the layers. The 5 archaeological layers are your excavation map. Performance layer, who you become when watched. Protection layer, the armor you wear to stay safe. Programming layer, the voices that aren't yours. Pain layer, the wounds that shaped you. Original layer, your authentic self. Your authentic self isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to excavate. Episode mantra. The most dangerous person in any room is someone who knows the difference between who they are and who they're pretending to be. You've just received your excavation map, the 5 archaeological layers that reveal where your authentic self is buried. But knowing where to dig is only the beginning. Here's what you've learned in this archaeological journey so far. Episode 1. You're not lost, you're excavating. Episode 2. You now have the map to who you really are. But excavating your authentic self creates a new problem. How do you protect what you've uncovered from the same forces that buried it in the first place? Tomorrow, we explore the most powerful preservation technique in your archaeological arsenal, the sacred art of disappearing. Because once you know who you really are, you need to learn how to become unavailable to everyone who wants to bury you again. This isn't about running away. This is about strategic withdrawal to protect your authentic self while it's still vulnerable from the excavation. What's one performance you're ready to drop? Tell us in the comments. Your excavation continues. The complete excavation tools and next episode link are in the description below. Join the archaeological expedition. Hit subscribe. Because you can't live authentically until you learn to disappear from everyone else's version of who you should be. Your authentic self is waiting. Time to start digging.